Satisfy your sweet and salty cravings at the Hy-Vee Snack Sale this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Featuring Hy-Vee potato chips, 98 cents. Coca-Cola 6-packs, $2.98 each when you buy 4. Little Debbie snacks in a family pack, just $1.48 each. Get these hot deals and so much more during the Hy-Vee Snack Sale this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only at Hy-Vee.
This is a CNA podcast.
If you live in a city like Singapore, you just need to turn on your tap to get fresh, clean water on demand anytime. Many of us don't even think about how water gets to our pipes and into our homes. But that's not true for many communities around the globe. Millions of people living in rural areas have to travel 30 minutes or longer to fetch water from untreated sources like a well or river. With more than 1 out of every 4 people on the planet, or over 2 billion people living in water-stressed countries, the world is looking for new innovations so we can all get safe, drinkable water. That's where my guest today comes in. When Lim Chong Tee was an undergraduate, he and 2 other classmates got together to start the social enterprise Wateroam. Since 2014, they've been making a portable water filter that provides safe drinking water for communities without the need for electricity. Chong Tee, welcome to the Climate Conversations.
Hi, Julie. Great to be here.
Yeah, let's start with the genesis of Wateroam, all right? I mean, what was that aha moment for your company?
It was in 2014. I was with a bunch of friends, David and Vincent, and we were basically engineers and business students. I always wanted to see how we can make use of science and technology and to apply them into natural environments and find that sweet spot to be able to build solutions. I always wanted to miniaturize some of these technologies and bring it to places where people really need it. So that was how I got into water. But starting a business, a social enterprise, wasn't something that I was thinking of immediately.
The name is so interesting, Wateroam. How did that come about?
We have been going to many different places where there is limited data. When you travel to places without the connection, you kind of need roaming. We are going around trying to provide water solutions, trying to come up with solutions to solve water problems. So how about combining water and roam and bringing clean water wherever we roam? So therefore Wateroam. That's how the name came about.
That is so smart. Well, the stark reality is that water as a global resource is under tremendous stress. Freshwater resources are depleting as we speak. Why is access to clean water such a tough nut to crack?
Yeah, so to begin with, our freshwater resource is extremely tiny. The earth is 70% water. That's a lot of water. But about 97% of them is non-potable, which means that there are either brackish water, salt water, so we can't drink them. About 2.5% of them, which is from groundwater source and freshwater source. And a huge part, about 60-70% of that water is actually tapped underground. It's like our reserves, and we're not exactly supposed to drain them unnecessarily. With warming climate plus rapid development all around the world, we're starting to see that our waterways are drying up in places where it shouldn't be, and water supplies are definitely affected because of that.
So let's talk about Wateroam's solution. How is it unique compared to other purification options?
So water technology has been out there for quite a bit, and the industry is, I would say, quite mature in itself. So even within the humanitarian space, there have been portable products, but they're usually catered either for very large communities, right? So they are maybe containerized solutions. And you also have very personal, small, tiny filters that is used for the individual. Throughout our personal experiences, we realized that community solutions are usually better managed because they are able to provide a larger population of people with clean water, and you can make sure that it's operating well. So main advantage of the Roam filter is that it has a very high flow rate to a low weight ratio. So the product is about 5 kg, but it can provide clean water for 100 to 200 people.
I see.
Yep, it has a rather rapid flow rate of about 300 liters per hour. So it can produce clean water for 100 people quickly within an hour. That makes it one of its biggest strength. The Roam filter is about $4.80, so it's about $1 to $2 per person per year, right? So it makes it quite affordable. So that is how we make sure that we are able to differentiate ourselves from the market and come up with something that is very useful for the people.
So Wateroam has been around for almost 10 years now, and you guys have been undertaking different projects to solve challenges related to water crisis. Tell us about the company's first mission. I'm sure you remember.
Yeah, my very first mission is to Cambodia. So this place called Matra is like a small Muslim village that's on the outskirts of Phnom Penh. What you realize there is that people are drinking water directly from the Mekong River, so it tends to be very brown. They have some wells, and wells water are supposed to be slightly better, but there are a lot of parasites, there's a lot of alligators in the water, and people either boil their water, which remains brown. Boiling water removes some bacteria, but if your water has so much suspended solids and sediments, it remains brown, and it wreaks a lot of havoc onto the body. So I was helping out with a school. I see children having chronic diarrhea, so they're going to the toilet about 6 to 7 times a day. They're constantly absent. So we started our first prototype there, and it was able to work there for like a good 3 years, providing them with clean water. But of course, the first iteration of our product was extremely big and bulky. It was about 50 kilograms.
50 kilograms?
Yeah, 50 kilograms. So
oh my.
we had an early team member who had a slip disc because of it. So we started sourcing for different materials. We started like going through multiple rounds of iterations and prototyping. So by the 20th iteration, we were able to downsize that 50 kg water filter to a 5 kg water filter. So this is portable. It can be backpacked. You can hand carry it. So even children can move it around.
So you can pump any kind of water? I mean, you talked about the brownish water, but the groundwater contaminated with, let's say, fertilizers or flood water that's carrying sediments?
Yeah. So, of course, it doesn't remove everything. So, we don't remove, for example, seawater, chemically polluted water with heavy metals. We don't remove them, but we deal with bacterial and viruses very effectively. So, for example, the Roam filter is able to remove like 6 to 8 log of bacterial, especially like things like E. coli. So, E. coli is this Escherichia coli, is an indicator fecal bacteria that we remove and we measure them. So we're able to remove them very effectively. So that's like 99.9999999, right? So it's able to do that very well. Viruses as well, protozoa. When it comes to other kinds of like contaminants that we can't remove, this is where wash education is extremely important. So I was just in the Thai-Myanmar border along Mae Sariang and Mae Sot just a few days ago. We spent a lot of time educating them on how they can improve their water quality even before the filtration. So there are other biophysical methods you can use. For example, we teach them how to use alum, anhydrous aluminum sulfate. That's like a kind of a rock that is easily accessible in the village. It is not particularly very effective with bacteria, but it can deal with certain kinds of heavy metals well. So it's able to remove like 70-80% of it, and you top it up with filtration, the water becomes very clean. So we make sure that we teach them like a very holistic wash education, so water and sanitation and hygiene, to make sure that it's not just a technology we are providing, we're enabling them with the knowledge to make sure that they can do more within their own community.
Wow. So how does it taste? I
think the water tastes really fresh. When I'm there, I often like utilize that water for drinking, for washing. I remember there was one trip that was in this place called Chinook Tru in Cambodia. That's along the Tonle Sap Lake, which is this massive lake that borders some of the provinces in Cambodia. I was basically relying on that because we were on this floating village, and that's the only clean water source we have.
Hello, my name is Steve Lai.
And I'm Teresa Tang.
And we are the hosts of CNA Correspondent,
a podcast that takes you to the heart of the work our correspondents do across the globe.
From China's COVID response,
to the child care center massacre in Thailand,
from the fall of Najib Razak,
to the rise of Anwar Ibrahim as Malaysia's Prime Minister.
We speak to the people at the reporting front lines.
So, if you want to know how the biggest global stories unfold,
make sure you follow or subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Of course, thanks to the smart design, your filter is well suited for rural, even disaster-hit places and communities. I remember a few months back, Benjamin Williams, he's the Secretary General of Singapore Red Cross. I'm sure you know him. He said that innovation and emergency response has not really changed in the last 50 years, and a lot of things actually brought to disaster sites only add to the problem itself sometimes, pollution-wise. But would you say your technology has the potential to be the game changer?
I think one of the things that people need to realize is that when a disaster happens, that's usually when there's a huge outpour of aid. And I think it's good because people actually need it. But sometimes there can be the issue of like an oversupply or the lack of manpower available on the ground to manage the influx of logistics. So it is very important to have a very consultative approach when we are doing this, and a long-term approach as well. So let me give you an example. So during the Turkey-Syria earthquake that just happened a few weeks ago, at the early onset of the disaster, what they need are rescue workers and volunteers and donations and funds so that they can recruit and hire people to be able to do rescue operations. There's the golden hours, 48 hours, where you can still save the people from the fallen rubble and debris. So that is kind of like the first priority during a disaster. But as it drags on now, you start to see that people are falling sick because of unclean water sources and all. So this is where the next phase of disaster management kicks in, and this is where we get involved. So for when it comes to the Roam Filter Plus, it's also about the timing that we bring it in to solve the problem at the right time. And having it portable definitely helps.
And also, in emergency response, experts say that we need to shift from reacting to disasters to proactively improving preparedness and readiness. Is Wateroam working towards equipping communities before disaster strikes?
Yeah, so pre-positioning is a very important aspect of disaster mitigation because you're getting prepared. You have the necessary stock so you wouldn't jam up the port and logistics. So one of the things that we're doing right now is also to work with local partners to pre-stock some of these emergency goods so that when they need the products, it doesn't have to go through the bureaucracy, the customs and the logistics, which can prove to be quite a big issue during an emergency. And time is money and life. So you would definitely want to save on that. For example, for the crisis in Myanmar, we have been working with the locals over the past 4 years at this point in time. So since 2018, 2019, we've been working with Save Water for Every Child Myanmar. These people live in some of the borders where they take about 2 days just to come to like a rendezvous point, like an RV point. So we will also spend about 2 days on boat and on through the roads to deliver these goods to them. And because of the nature of the product, because it's very light and portable, it makes it a very useful product for them to move around during an emergency.
Right.
So that is something that we try to do to make sure that they can still get clean water no matter where they are.
How do you balance social impact with profitability? I mean, you guys have been going strong for the past 10 years.
Yeah, I think understanding the audience and market is very important. Most startups, including social enterprises, don't last beyond 3 to 5 years. I think the main challenge is not able to identify their market and unable to lock in with paying customers, for example. So one of the things that we did was also to make sure that we don't build the perfect product, like an idealistic product. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs sometimes can be a little bit more idealistic. They want to build that perfect product for their customers. And you realize that effectively it is not very practical, not very realistic to do that. You end up burning a lot of resources and you're unable to come up with something that can be used by the consumers. So we had 20 over iterations, and even this existing product is a work in progress, right? When I go down to the ground, I get feedback. We are going to improve it for the next round. So it needs to be a continuous process. You need to be able to constantly put out products to let the users use. That's how you understand what the consumer needs, and you can design things that are human-centric, not just based on your imaginary perspective of how it would work.
And Chong Tee, I understand that you've impacted more than 200,000 lives by deploying over 1,200 of your products around the globe.
Yeah, and this is my 250,000.
Congratulations. Yep. I wonder what sort of plans you have to scale up your business, to expand the customer base, obviously, improve your product.
Yeah, we hope to be able to continue working with bigger companies. So right now, a lot of the organizations we work with tend to be at like the grassroots and community level, which means that our impacts are deep and we have a strong and healthy network of people on the ground who knows and understands the product. But we feel like we need more involvement from the corporates, from governments. I think there's also a shifting focus on solutions that can help to mitigate climate change. So for example, our solution, what it does is that it reduces the amount of firewood needed for the villagers to boil water. This helps to reduce deforestation, the need of timber. So the product itself is able to reduce the amount of carbon emissions that's being put into the air. So we hope to be able to work with more corporates to be able to introduce solutions like that to help with the overall carbon emission issue. I think this direction hopefully can help us to scale in the future and remain relevant in the years to come.
Yeah, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
There's still billions of people who need clean water. So we hope that we will be able to hit an even more significant milestone. But I hope that Wateroam will be able to not just reach out to the marginalized communities, but we are able to change people's mindset about the environment, about the climate. Water is just really one small aspect of things. I think in our habits, in our behavior, we need to recognize some of the issues that persist in our current society. And I hope that Wateroam will continue being a catalyst for change to make the world a better place.
Chong Tee, we certainly wish you all the best and that success flows smoothly for you and the people you are aiming to help. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thanks to my guest, Lim Chong Tee, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And do remember to subscribe and like this podcast so you know when a new episode drops. You can find CNA's climate and sustainability coverage online at cna.asia. The team behind this podcast is Joanne Chan, Saya Win, Jacqueline Chan, and Crispina Robert. And I'm Julie Yu, signing off.